Happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome to Sports Talking Sports. I'm your host, L. Steven Sports, but you all can call me Les out there. Listen, we have a great show tonight. It's my favorite time of the year. I love all sports, but there's one thing above all that I love, and that is March Madness. So we're going to be talking a lot about that tonight. But before I do that, and before I introduce my co-host and my special guest tonight, very happy birthday to John and Paul, my boys out of Chicago. Happy birthday tomorrow, March 20th. And also congratulations to Barb and Paul for tying the knot this past weekend in Chicago. Joni and I were there. It was an awesome time being with the entire family. So congratulations. And it was an awesome time being there and being part of it. So thank you very much. So let's bring on my first co-host. And don't worry, for all of you out there who want to see the book, he's going to be here. Just hang on. We'll bring him in eventually. Benny, don't fall asleep out there. Let's bring on my man from Jacksonville, former A&M Rattler quarterback, national champ 1978, and voice of the Rattlers basketball and football broadcast with Melvin Beal, Hall of Famer, number 2, Al the Rattler Chester.
My man, how you doing, Les? I tell you what, my brother from another mother. And I know I might be a day early, but I got to say happy birthday to you too, my man.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that. And congratulations on the Hall of Fame last week, the Bob Hayes Hall of Fame. You made us proud.
Yeah, I had a spectacular time, man. I tell you what, it was a great weekend with lifelong memories.
Well, that was an awesome time, and we're going to talk about that, too, later on in the show. But let's bring on tonight's our first two guests here. First of all, let's bring on Mr. Steve Stefano, who is in, I believe, New Bern, North Carolina, unless he's traveling again. So let's bring in Steve via Philly. What's up, Steve?
How you doing, Les? Happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
Hey,
are you in North Carolina?
Yes.
Okay, you are in North Carolina. And let's bring on tonight's special guest, former coach of the St. Joe's Hawks and the Michigan Wolverines, host of the Make a Difference podcast. You can check that out on YouTube. It's a great podcast. I encourage everyone to check that out. And he also works some games for ESPN. I believe he's doing some NIT analyst work. The coach, Phil Martelli.
Les, how are you? Happy birthday.
Thank you, Phil. Thanks for making
Hall
time
of Famer,
for us.
congratulations, my man.
Coach Phil, thank you very much.
Yeah, this is going to be great. We're going to have a great show tonight. Listen, I know everyone's here. We're going to talk March Madness. That's the main reason we're on tonight. But I want to start the show off a little bit different. We can get questions out there. Joni will read them. We'll get our comments. But listen, we're all involved in sports, right? All of us. Some of us at higher level than others. I know, Steve, you and Phil have been boyhood friends since the beginning, since you guys were little kids. Both played sports. It molded you guys to, what you are, what you become, right? Steve, you went in the private business sector. You authored the book here, Almost Perfect, the 64 Rise and Fall of the Philadelphia Phillies. For anybody out there that's a Philly fan and Philadelphia in general, I encourage you to get the book. We'll throw that up on Amazon. You can check that out. And Coach Phil, you played the game. You end up coaching the game. You did that for your entire career, being ultra successful head coach for a couple of teams. So let's get into it first. You played a team sport in basketball. You were a shooter. If I know you just said you were the shortest guy. You were pre-Muggsy Bogues back in the day. What did you learn from basketball that helped you become so successful in the business world? And you and I have done business deals, and you are incredibly successful, those people out there, and have done books on other things than sports. What lessons did you learn, and how did you apply them in the business world?
Great question. And when you teed that up to me a week or so ago, I gave it a little bit of thought. I want to give you a very concise answer. Really, for me, it comes down to three things. When I first started playing competitive basketball as a little kid in high school, whatever, I was not a good teammate. I was an immature teammate. I was a selfish teammate, cared more about my stats than I did about anything else. And then I guess my junior year kind of went off in my head that was the wrong approach. And I learned that the whole was much better than the sum of the parts, and that it was more fulfilling to win than it was to have individual statistics. And from that point on, I think I applied a different approach to how I played the game, carried that into the business world. And a lot of times in the business world, I've seen super ambition in people based on what they want to accomplish. And they generally flame out. And the real victory is in when the company or the team does the right things and wins. So that was one lesson. The second lesson was a good thing. I always believed, even as a little kid, that there were better players than me, more talented, bigger, obviously. But I've always believed that nobody could outwork me, outpractice me. And that lesson came into the business world. I always prepared. I did a lot of negotiations for Glaxo, and the preparation we put in was unbelievable. We went in knowing we were going to win because we were prepared. So taking that practice ethic into preparation in the business world. And then the third and last thing, which I learned from my dad, who I believe was the best leader I ever saw. My best friend, by the way. And he taught me when I went into the home office, he said, Steve, I think someday you may lead people, and it may be a lot of people. And I want you to remember one thing. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that was the empathy gene that I think is the secret sauce to being a good leader in a corporation. So those three things: being a team player, preparation, and having that empathy gene and showing the empathy gene.
Well, it's worked because you've been uber successful in what you've done. Phil, let's talk about getting into coaching. I know you got into it a long, long time ago. You've done it a lot better than many. When you got into coaching at the beginning, high school, then college, was there someone, I'm going to say emulate a style, but is there some coaches that you looked up to in the Philly area or maybe nationally that you saw and said, I want to take a little bit about what he teaches, a little bit how he works it, and then you develop your own style? But did you take a little bit from certain coaches?
I took a little bit from a lot of people. And when I was a kid, probably starting in the 12th grade, I kept a book. I kept a book about, I didn't know what press conferences were, but I kept a book on, man, I like that quote. I then tried to study everybody that I played against as a college player, anybody that I played against as a high school coach, and I just said, I like this. I don't like this. And there are things that I would say, yes, this is a yes or a no. I had a book, Les, when I was just going into college coaching. I kept a book of all the people that I wanted to invite to my first press conference.
Wow.
And then I would follow, like, when guys got jobs. I didn't know anything about the business of college coaching. I just thought that you went in, do a good job in high school, then you go Division III, you go Division II, you go Division I, and you keep moving up based on what you did. I didn't know that you had to have a plan, so to speak, for your own advancement. I thought you let your coaching do the speaking for you. I mean, I made decisions when I was a high school coach to go back and coach in the college pro-ams kind of thing to see if my ideas would work with better players. Not that I was disrespecting my high school players. I went and worked basketball camps to see if I could make the networking. And I even really didn't realize I got married when I was 1 year out of college. And then you have that whole, well, what are you going to do how are you going to make ends meet? Are you going to leave the area? And Stevie, like, my biggest appreciation for Stevie is he left the area. Nobody leaves Philadelphia. Once it gets in you, it gets in you. And
so I haven't left.
Yeah.
Right here. You still got it right here.
Right. As I realized, like, the funnel got real small, right? Oh, yeah, I want to coach. Yeah, but I want to coach in Philadelphia. And I pursued a Division III job. Pursued a Division III job, and the job went to Paul Westhead.
Gotcha.
Prior to him going to the Lakers. But it went to Paul Westhead because he could be an English professor at the school, at the small school.
Wow.
I didn't know. I had no idea of how to pursue this. And by staying connected and getting a chance to be restricted earnings at St. Joe's, that led me on the path to be the head coach there. But I took from everybody. And all the way back to even the three guys that coached us. Like, somebody said, well, what could you learn about basketball from a politician, a banker, and a postman? Yeah, but you know what I learned? I learned that they could drive a group to pursue a common goal. That's unusual. But it's why Stevie is successful in business, because he takes that same approach. Take your group and drive them towards a goal of excellence. We were taught that when we didn't know it. It wasn't stated that way, but we were 12 and 13 years old and we chased championships. And there's nothing wrong with chasing championships in business and broadcasting, in basketball. Why not?
Well, listen, the ultimate thing, the goal is to win. I mean, that's what we're all in it for. We all want to win at whatever we do. Al, you were a national championship quarterback at Florida A&M. You played some pro up in the CFL. Then you had this amazing career as at NICS, which is incredible. What did you learn? These guys are basketball. You're football, a lot bigger locker room, a lot more players and things like that, a lot more coaches. What did you learn to get you to be successful to what you did post football career?
Well, just to echo what they already said, preparation loves victory. And, you learn how to deal with adversity, the ups, the downs, the disappointments, and all the good times as well. I think the thing that stands out the most for me, I've always been in leadership roles. And the key to me was understanding that everybody is motivated different. If in the huddle, for example, I had 10 guys in that huddle from different walks of life, and everybody was motivated differently. Some guys I had to slap upside the head, some I had to have choice words with, and some all I had to do was look at them. And but the common goal was to go down and score that touchdown. And I took that into all facets of my life. They say football is the game of life because you got to learn how to deal with adversity, how to get back up when you get knocked down. So I mean, it's applicable, I think, across the board. And I echo everything that these two gentlemen have already said because athletics does something special for you, and I think it takes you to another level. And it makes you a better person, but it makes you understand and process things a lot different.
Well said. Well said. Do we have questions out there at all, or comments at all?
No.
So nothing yet. So hey, everyone out there, comments, questions. We're talking with Coach Phil Martelli, Steve Stefano, and of course my co-host Al the Rattler Chester. All right, guys, let's get into the main thrust of this whole thing here, and this is the reason why we're here. It's my favorite time of the year, and it is March Madness. Phil, you've known it, you've lived it, you've coached it. You've gone far in it. Have you got a chance? And I know, listen, and you got a personal stake in this thing. I mean, you couldn't be more proud. Your son, Phil Martelli Jr., head man at Bryant, and they make the tournament. A great accomplishment right there. And they open up against the number 2 seed, I think, Michigan State. Hey, listen, anything happens in the tournament, you know this. You know how upsets happen. Before we get into the Bryant matchup, look at this. We got Tony brought up this. We've got. Let's look at the South first, okay? And before we even go there, hold on. I'm going to go to Phil and Steve and Al first. Let me go back to you, gentlemen, real quick. Did any of you have a problem with North Carolina making the field? Everyone lost their minds when North Carolina got the play-in game. They thought they shouldn't have got in. The quad won. They were 1-12 and all that. I looked at KenPom. They finished number 30. They finished ahead of Indiana, Boise, and West Virginia. And let's go to Phil first. Did you have any issue with North Carolina getting in? If so, why? And do you think that they can make a little bit of a run now that they're in and beat San Diego State by 27 last night?
Well, here's what I know, and I've done this. I've done the selection exercise twice in my career, but it was in the summer. They're not the pressure. Mm-hmm. We are so metric driven now in these selections that you have every number imaginable. And I just finished I was on the NIT selection committee, and you have every number, and you look at these numbers. And to me, when there is a disqualifying number, you have to acknowledge that. 1-12 in the quad one is a disqualifying number.
Wow. Okay.
Right. So I see that as you go across the board, and if you come across something that stands out, then it's disqualifying. Could be strength of schedule, right? Could be, well, they had 350th strength of schedule, non-conference. That's your choice. So when it comes to the tournament, that can become disqualifying. So as you go across there, and we've now had maybe 7, 8, maybe as many as 9 of these metric numbers, predictors. That number, not being in that room, had to be disqualifying for some coaches, or some of the committee. When I look at the other teams, the West Virginias and the
Boise's, Indiana,
Boise
right?
State,
yeah.
What was their number that disqualified them? Because they had to have a number.
Mm-hmm.
They had to have a number. There are a couple of things to note. League affiliation is never mentioned in that committee room. And when you see a team sheet, it doesn't list their conference. It doesn't list their conference record.
Really?
So the people that worry about 6-12 SEC teams, no, the responsibility of the committee is to select 32 at-large teams, right, that they believe could win the whole thing. Not win a game.
Wow.
Not advance to a second weekend. They're charged with, are these the best teams that could win a national championship? So they obviously thought that North Carolina. And for everybody involved, I wish that Bubba Cunningham was not the chair, because it looks a certain way.
And for everyone out there, he's the athletic director at the University of North Carolina.
And he's the head chair of the committee this year.
Right.
So, and I will say this, Les, the selection on Sunday, the result of Tuesday night has nothing to do with the selection of Sunday.
Mhm.
And however far they go,
Okay.
has nothing to do with the selection. The selection to me did not take into account the disqualifying quad one numbers that they had.
Okay. And well, both the book is going to be happy. Benny's going to come on in a little while, and he thinks North Carolina should not have gotten in based on the 1-12 record in the quad, and they got a little bit hot in the ACC tournament. They played a Duke team down to the wire. They'd play without Cooper Flagg, obviously. I want to get into.
Could I ask a question though, Les?
Yeah.
To Benny,
Yeah.
in case.
Yeah.
Does anybody out there believe that they were down 24 points in the first half to Duke?
Right.
In the semifinals of the ACC. Had they ended that game losing by 24, that would have influenced the committee.
I agree 100%.
The committee said, wow, look how hard they came back and how.
Mhm.
So they had a little bit of that nugget in their head. You make a really good point about that.
I think that means everything. I think if they got blown out by 15 or 20 points, they don't make the tournament. I just think it's the showing. They did. They came back from 24, even though without Flagg, they still beat Louisville. I mean, Duke's is still one heck of a team, very young. I know we have some questions out there. I know we have a few. I want to ask Phil a question because I've always wanted to know this, Phil, and this is just maybe it's my ignorance when it comes to the way they see these things. I've always wanted to know, you've got North Carolina, you've got Texas. They're in play-in games for a 10 seed. Why in the world are they a 10 seed in a playoff game when you get other teams that are 15 and 16 and 14? Shouldn't they have to have play-in games? Because they're obviously not rated as high as a power conference. And I know they get the automatic bid. I understand that.
Right.
But still,
They're
a
being
play-in
paid.
game.
They're given respect for being an automatic qualifier. Because if you didn't do it this way,
Yeah.
if you didn't do it when they added these play-in games, then really you would have the same leagues over and over. That's disrespectful.
Gotcha.
Either it's an open championship or it's not. And sad to say, somewhere down the line, it's going to become a closed shop with just the power schools involved. So that is not, there are no coaches that have an issue with that.
Okay. All right. I just had to ask that question. So let's go to the big board, Tony, and let's start with the South because we got the number one team. Again, I argue, guys, that I don't think Auburn, I know they played great the entire year, but, Bruce Pearl's squad lost 3 out of their last 5. They didn't win the SEC. Florida, to me, should have got the number one seed. That's just me. But let's look at Auburn. They're playing the winner of Alabama State. I think Alabama State won last night against St. Francis. So they got Alabama State out of the SWAC. Al, I know you got your chest up high for the SWAC there.
Absolutely.
We got Michigan State against Coach's son here at Bryant. I mean, that's going to be an interesting matchup. I know we'll get into whether or not you're going to be there, Phil. Iowa State, who's missing Keyshawn Gilbert, a key piece against Lipscomb. I think they win that one. And Texas A&M against Yale. That's one of my upsets. I like Yale winning that game. Let's start with you, Steve. Out of this division, the South, who do you like coming out of the South? And do you see any upsets in the top 4 here?
Well, I have no choice but to say Bryant.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Okay. I know Coach Phil's on the show. We like to be loyal, but you're really picking Bryant to come out of the South.
No doubt about it.
No doubt about it. Okay. All right. Well, Al, I know you know Phil a little bit, but I don't think you're as loyal as Steve.
Well, I tell you what, basketball is a funny game, man. And I said it earlier during our pre-game, pre-show talk that if you can put the ball in the hoop more times than your opponent, at any time it could go either way. So who's got the hot hand? But I think Auburn's going to be tough coming out of the South for sure.
So do you like Auburn to represent the South?
I do.
All right. Well, this is remiss that I'm going to ask Phil who he likes coming out of the South, but I have a weird feeling he's going to tell me who's coming out of the South, and it's not going to be the Auburn
I'm
Tigers.
going to go back, Les, and say this. I think that you make a really valid point about Auburn coming in having lost 3 out of 4. Right? They've lost 3 out of 4 going in to that. They're in a little bit of a tight spot. Right? They're playing in Louisville. And I think that they play such a style, such a bang, and
Yep.
aggressive style that the referees who are tight, right? The referees are getting voted to move ahead. They get tight. And that banging style could lead to a lot of foul shots. A lot of foul shots lead to upsets. When you can score with the clock not moving, you get a chance to upset. So I'm going to hedge my bet and say this. The winner of the Michigan State Bryant game will go to the Final Four.
Well, I'm in agreement with you because as much as I am rooting for Bryant out of Smithfield, Rhode Island, not only is your son the head coach, but a good friend of mine, Dan Caron out there, is a Bryant alum, as is John Bettinelli, a Bryant alum. We got a lot of people there. I actually picked Michigan State. I like Izzo. I like Sparty. I like the guard play. They've got two good guards, one a senior, one a freshman. I think they both score 12 a game. They don't have one star. They can do it with multiple players. They don't rely on one guy to put the ball in the hoop. So I liked steady guard play in the tournament, and I like Izzo in the tournament as well. I didn't think much of the team at the beginning of the year. I thought they'd be okay, but not to this point. I guess the next seed would be the East, and I think Duke is seeded number 2 overall. Flag is going to play. I don't know how effective on that ankle. I assume they're going to beat either American or Mount St. Mary's. You got Alabama. We don't know the health of Nelson, their big player up front. I know Sears got his foot stepped on in the last game. I don't know if he's going to be affected by that. Wisconsin got a real high seed to me. I know they made it to the Big Ten championship, losing to Michigan, but I think that's pretty high for Wisconsin. Arizona, boy, I'll tell you, tough schedule. Caleb Love, a transfer from North Carolina. I like the way Arizona's playing. Lloyd's got that team playing well. But I am picking. I'm gonna hedge my bets first. I got Duke coming out of the East. Phil, let's go with you. We'll go reverse. We'll go Phil, Al, and Steve. I got Duke coming out of the East. What says Coach Phil?
I like Arizona.
Not a bad pick.
I like Arizona because they went through trials and tribulations in November and December. And I think that they're out there. The change in leagues this year, they moved along. People forgot. It wasn't like Arizona became, they're a blue blood, have been a blue blood, but they weren't treated like a blue blood all year because of their rough start in the beginning. I think at one point they may have been 5-5.
They were.
I like Arizona. I really do.
All right, so we get the Wildcats out of the Big 12, their first year in the Big 12. Al, who do you like coming out of the East?
I'm a co-sign with you. I like Duke. I like the way they've been playing. I think they have the energy, their stoic program, rich in history and tradition. I think they're playing good basketball. Duke is going to come out the East as the champ.
All right, we like Duke. Steve, who do you got coming out of the East?
So I too have Duke, and that's a tough pick for me because I have a long memory, and I remember back it was either 65 or 66 when St. Joe's got whistled out of the gym against Duke in the regionals, and I left a bad taste in my mouth forever.
But you got to listen.
But I'm picking Duke.
Listen, I remember, you're going to love this. Phil, you might remember this back in the day. In 1978, the University of Rhode Island had a player named Sly Williams, and they were lighting up the UCAC. They played Duke in the first round and lost by 1 point, 63-62, because a guy named John Nelson missed a 12-foot bank shot, and they would have knocked. That was Gene Banks, Sparnarkel, and Jaminski that went to the Final Four and lost to Kentucky. URI lost by 1 that game.
Les, you got to play to your audience now. You have to say Gene Banks from West Philadelphia High School.
Number 20. Okay, all right. I didn't know he was from West Philly, but I know he was number 20. Thank you for throwing that out there. Another Philly guy. That's East. Let's go to the Midwest, where Houston, I think, is the number 3 overall seed. They're playing SIU, Southern Indiana University, I think Edwardsville, Tennessee against Wolford, who great matchup against the Paladins and our friend Rich out there. They beat them. Kentucky and Troy. And you got Purdue. I thought Purdue, Coach, I want to get your take on Purdue. I thought that was a pretty high seed. I know they got Braden Smith. They lost 12 games this year, and the Big Ten was not super, super competitive. You surprised they got a 4?
And they wore down. Purdue wore down.
They did.
Over the course of the year. Guard play is a big deal. Braden Smith is a first-team All-American. Matt Painter is a wonderful, wonderful coach. I don't really get caught up in the numbers because that's over the course of the whole year. And like I said earlier, they have so many metrics that they can decide on. So I like Purdue. and I think it's a great story because they're playing this year without, Zach Edey last year was such a dominant force.
Right.
You're going to have to play tough. You're going to have to play tough to beat them.
Who do you
But
like
I
coming
don't
out of the
see them as
Midwest?
a Final Four team. I
Who do
don't
you-
see them as a Final
Who
Four
do,
team.
who do you think coming out of the Mid? Do you like the Cougars?
Absolutely, because you know what? That style travels. That defensive, and I mean this in a kind way, mean-spirited approach to the game of basketball. It may not be pleasant to watch, but it's really hard to play against. And those kind of teams win in March.
All right, so Coach has Houston. Al, who do you got coming out of the Midwest?
Well, I tell you what, Coach already made the commentary for me, and I think that the tournament is a second season. I like Purdue coming out because of the toughness.
Wow.
I got them coming out of the East.
All right, that's a shocker to me. Steve, who do you got coming out of that?
Yeah,
Midwest?
put the board up again. I want to make sure I got the right one here.
So well, here's the 4 top seeds. You got Houston, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Purdue. Hey, listen, you could have someone coming out of the Midwest that's a 5 or a 6.
Yeah, I on my list I had Kentucky.
Okay, so Kentucky, the health of Lamont Butler. I mean, he was hurt, did not play in the SEC tournament. He's the transfer from San Diego State. I like Tennessee. I think Houston. I agree with you, Coach. They got that Georgetown style. They play that tough man-on-man defense. They're gritty. They can rebound, but they don't shoot foul shots well, and that's what scares me about them. If it's a 1 or 2 possession game with under a couple minutes to go, I could see them missing a few foul shots. Rick Barnes hasn't done tremendous in the tournament, but I like Lanier, I like Ziegler, and I like Tennessee to come out of the Midwest. Another SEC team. And then the last region we've got is the West. Team that I think should have been rated number 1 overall, the Florida Gators. Todd Golden has them rolling right now. I think Clayton, the guard, everyone talks Flag and everyone talks Broom as being the players of the year. I'll be honest with you. I don't want to get your take on this, Phil. I think the last 2 months of the season, I think Clayton's been the best basketball player in the country. I mean, he's been unbelievable for Florida. You got Rick Pitino. Look at the job he's done at St. John's in his second year. He's got him as the number 2 seed. Texas Tech got a couple injuries. They got a great player in Toppin, and they're playing our hometown UNCW Seahawks. By the way, we did have a chat with CAA Commissioner Joe D'Antonio. We're going to run that later on in the program about them. And then you got the Maryland Terrapins. And I know, Phil, I know you love Maryland. You said something about them earlier. They got Grand Canyon, who made a little run last year. Let's go to Phil, and let's see, who do you like out of the West and why? And do you think Maryland really has a shot to come out of the West?
I'm a big fan of Maryland. I did one of their games at the end of the year. 5 double-figure scores, 3 perimeter guys, all shoot 40% or better. They have the second best freshman in America in Derek Queen. And they have an unusual style defensively. They play a matchup zone when the rest of the country plays man-to-man, 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 man-to-man. Unusual styles win in the tournament, particularly the second game of the weekend, because you don't have as much time to prepare. Kevin Willard has done almost a 180 in terms of he's become very Zen-like, almost Phil Jackson-like on the sideline. And I think if the draw goes right, the country is going to fall in love with Derek Queen. He's a big man who is a pass-first big man. He pushes on the break. He has unbelievable feet, unbelievable hands. I told some students at Maryland, make sure they make some plans to be in San Antonio. They asked me if I was going to pay for it. I said, no, call Stevie Stefano. He's got all the money.
All right, so who do you got coming out of there, though? Do you have Maryland coming out?
Maryland. I'm taking Maryland.
Wow, okay, so interesting. You've got 2 4 seeds. You got Arizona out of the East and Maryland. All right, man. You're either gonna look like, man, you're gonna look like a genius, or you're gonna look like, well, I just like those 2 teams.
I didn't hear this, but I want to be clear with anybody watching. If you're still filling out a bracket, make sure that your pencil has an eraser.
I like it. All right. All right. Out of the Midwest, your last Final Four selection, Al. Who do you like?
Well, I tell you what, when you look at the keys to victory, free throws, high percentage field goal shooting, rebounds on both ends of the court, playing sound defense, It's the Florida Gators, hands down. I mean, I think the Florida Gators got all of that magic, and I think they're on a run. They may be the most powerful basketball team playing right now. I like the Florida Gators
I agree with
by
you.
hands down.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with you. Steve?
Well, I'm not going to go with the stats and knowing the ball players, because I don't like Al and Phil do. I'm going to go with a sentimental pick. I'm going to go with St. John's and pulling for Rick Pitino to win to go further.
St. John's, the Johnnies are back. I've got to go with Florida, and there's a chance. Just see, we got two Bisons on the show. We got a Martelli, we got a Stefano. If Bruce Pearl and Todd Golden make it to the Final Four, we got two Hebrew homeboys, folks. I'm just letting everyone know out there. We got my two Hebrew homeboys that can make it to the Final Four. And Bruce Pearl actually grew up in the town next to me in Sharon, Massachusetts. I got to say one thing about St. John's, and again, Phil, I'm sure you know Rick pretty well. This guy now has taken 6 programs in his second year to the NCAA tournament. And prior to his arrival there, those teams had losing records. That is coaching. BU, Providence, Kentucky, Louisville, Iona, and now St. John's. I don't know Rick Pitino at all. I know Stevie has been with him in certain events and stuff. Can you tell us a little bit about Rick Pitino? I'm sure you know him.
He's a basketball savant.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in the Hall of Fame for a certain reason. And he has embraced the new basketball. He is really running a pro franchise at St. John's. And he's a pro franchise in terms of the way they strength and condition, the way they do individual workouts, the way they, after the game, how they debrief, how they do recovery. He's just ahead of the pack. He's ahead of the pack. And he's really good people. He's been great with me. I lost a Sweet 16 game when he was at Kentucky. The year that they won the national championship, I think it was 96. In 97, we lost the game in San Jose to the team that had remarkable talent. And Rick, in a way, I marvel at it because his son will be in Cleveland. I'll be in Cleveland. Watch my son. Rick is in Providence. He's still coaching. His son was coach of the year. Rick was coach of the year. He is through and through a professional basketball coach coaching in college right now.
He's done an amazing job resurrecting the St. John's program. Chris Mullin couldn't do it. Lapcha couldn't do it. So many people have gone past. When Louis Carnesecca was done with St. John's, they kind of fell off the map a little bit, and they were one of the powerhouses in the Big East. By the way, great 30 for 30 on the Big East the other night I watched was phenomenal. If you like college basketball, it was great. So we've got everyone's pick here for the Final Four. Now, before I go to who's going to win it all, I know John Irwin had a question.
There are several questions.
We're going to have
Yes.
Joni the chat girl, my amazing chat girl, who's back in the house again. Joni, let's throw a few questions.
Well, first of all, I want to correct you. Actually, my mom wants to correct you.
I'm in trouble.
Misspoke.
I'm in trouble. The mom's
No.
corrected me.
You misspoke. SIU Edwardsville is Southern Illinois, not Southern Indiana.
Ro, I stand corrected. You are unbelievable. We should have you on the show instead of me, but thank you for correcting me on that. I did not. I honestly don't know who SIU Edwardsville is. And guess what? After they lose to Houston by 30, no one else will. Okay. Now, go ahead. Sorry, no disrespect to any SIU Edwardsville people out there. Watch, they'll pull the upset and I'll look like an idiot. Go ahead.
Just 2 questions
Yes.
from Barry Smith, who asked this early on.
Is this for Coach, right?
For Coach.
Okay.
Yes, for
All
Phil. So Barry wants to know which championship meant the most to you.
Ooh.
Wow.
He's thinking about that one.
Mm-hmm.
I could bail and say all of them, but the first one in 97, because it was in the Spectrum in Philadelphia. I was in my second year, and even though the first year we went to the NIT championship game, my second year we went to the Atlantic 10 championship and won it. And to be able to do it at home and to do it, as Stevie has said before, this was the only job and the only place that I ever wanted to coach. after I had a high school job, and to do it, and still knowing that you're proving yourself. Like I was confident and comfortable with who I was and what I could do, but championships are forever. They're like a tattoo, right? You get a tattoo and you say, that's it. I know there's ways to take them off now, but championships never leave you. You're going to lose loved ones. You're going to lose possessions. You're going to lose jobs. But whenever somebody said, who was the Atlantic 10 champion in 1996, it was the St. Joe Hawks, and I was the coach of that team. So the first one.
Can't take that away from you.
Nope.
All right, and I know John's got a question about the seeds. Could you read that one?
Yes.
I want
John,
I want us to go to, because I think this is for everybody. I think we'll get Phil, we'll get Al, and we'll get Steve's take on it.
Okay. So John Irwin asks, which of the 4 12 seeds are most likely to win a game?
Do you guys think anybody that's a 12 has a shot in an upset in this tourney? I've got 2. I've got McNeese State knocking off Clemson, and I have Colorado State beating Memphis. Those are my 2 12s. Do you guys agree? Do you think either one of these things can happen, or do you think that the 5s are going to run just normal and beat the 12s this year?
Well, 5-12 always has an upset.
Yep.
And your first one, there's a wrinkle now, Les, because the players on McNeese State know that their coach is leaving.
That's right. I just found that out.
Right?
Yes.
So that's a distraction. It's an unnecessary distraction. So and they're tough. We played them last year at Michigan, and we really didn't have a chance in the game.
Really?
They're really good. But I just think those added distractions. And on the other side of that, Clemson just announced that Brad Bromwell is going to sign an extension. That lifts your team.
Okay. Well,
right?
there goes my thing out the window. There goes my pick. Who by the way,
who's your pick, Les?
Well, I had McNeese and I had Colorado State, but so
right.
where did the Cowboy coach go? Where's he going? Do we know, or?
He's going to NC State.
Oh, so he's taking over Keats's job. Okay, did not know that. I know the West Virginia coach just left after 1 year. That sounds a little fishy, but we'll get into that real quick too.
No, my daughter was hoping that you would go there.
No.
Phil or me?
No, Phil.
No, I was going to say if he
Can't commute there, Stevie.
Yeah, I know.
He's not leaving Philadelphia. He's staying in Philly. All right, guys, I want to get everyone's. Oh, by the way, the one thing we haven't talked about in storylines, guys, is there will not be a three-peat. Now, I know UConn is in the tournament. They're number 8 seed. They got a tough game against the number 9 seed in that. And Gonzaga's got an 8. And there's some teams that have generally been really high seeds that have kind of not had the dominant years in the past. UConn, Danny Hurley's team was a juggernaut. I think an 8 seed was pretty generous based on the way they played. They didn't beat anybody very, very good this year. I thought the Big East was not really, really good other than St. John's. Marquette lost a lot of games at the end of the year. Xavier was up and down. Creighton was kind of up and down. McDermott did not have the greatest year. I don't see a three-peat. Do you guys see any way possible that UConn makes a run at least to the Sweet 16 and beyond? I don't see it. Phil?
No, I don't see it. But again, he is so maniacal about winning and preparation that I wouldn't put it past them to win a game that they're not supposed to, like if they play the 1 seed on Saturday or Sunday, whatever their draw is. But it's a really hard game. It's a really hard game to be good back-to-back years.
Yeah.
But they're not going away. I mean, they obviously are a blue blood in women's basketball. They're a blue blood in men's basketball. And you can never take away back-to-back. But back-to-back-to-back is John Wooden like it. I don't see that with this group.
I agree 100%. All right, I'm going to go from Steve to Al to Phil. Who is going to cut down the nets in a few weeks? I want you to tell me. Steve, who's going to win the 2025 national championship?
Well, I didn't have it in my pick, but I think Florida's going to win it.
All right, so we got Todd Golden's Gators. I know Mike and Sue are going to be extremely happy out there. They're big Gator fans, as well as Scott Parker. our trainer out there, big Gainesville guy. Al, who's going to take it home?
I concur. I think the Florida Gators are the best basketball team in the country.
All right, so you got the guys from Gainesville. All right, Phil, I know your heart's with Bryant. I understand it. Who's going to take it home?
Maryland.
I got to tell everyone out there, before you came on the last show a couple weeks ago, you said, watch out for Maryland. They're going to make a deep run in the tournament. And you know something? I'm kind of rooting for Maryland a little bit too. I like that kid Queen. He flew under the radar as a freshman. The Duke guys got all the publicity, but this kid is really, really good. But with that saying, I am going to take the University of Florida Gators. I just think Clayton is playing too well. They're deep. They're well coached. They played a tough schedule, the toughest conference, and they ran through the SEC championship. I really like it. Guys, before I let you go, because we're up against it here, the one thing I want to do, Phil, is can you give me 3 keys, or give people out there watching these games 3 keys to the 3 things? I know it's guard play, free throws, but whatever. But as a coach, what are the 3 things you ingrain in your teams that you have to do to be successful in the tournament and make a deep run? What are those 3 things?
You have to be willing to play TV timeout to TV timeout. You want to stay in the game. You want to stay connected if you fall behind. You want to keep going if you get that lead. So you want to play game TV timeout to TV timeout. The second thing that you want to do is when you get a shot, you must take a shot. Not taking an open shot is the same as turning the ball over. Wow. It's a lot worse than taking a bad shot. So shoot your shot, and then everybody on your roster has to be ready because they're all going to be needed at some point. So people can forget about depth. I'm talking about be ready for your one moment. Everybody on your team is going to get one moment in a 6-game series.
Good key. Well, you've done it. And like I said, you came 1 game away, 1 point away, 1 possession away from making the Final Four in that magical year in 2004. So you certainly know what you're talking about. Maybe I should redo my brackets. Phil said Maryland. I don't know. You know, you can't argue with a coach who's been that successful, guys. So maybe I have to change it. But first of all, I want to thank both you and Steve for hopping on. I know you're busy as heck. I want to wish you guys the best of luck with Bryant against Michigan State. Listen, I picked Michigan State, but I'm praying that you guys pull the upset and knock out Sparty. That would be outstanding. Again, check out Phil Martinelli's Make a Difference podcast. It's fantastic. Check it out. Tony will put it up there. Stevie, we'll be seeing you soon. I'm taking you to the club.
Okay. And I'll take you to our club.
Sounds fantastic. It is the Make a Difference podcast that Coach Phil is in with. It's great. It's got great guests, got great life lessons. You ought to check it out. It's awesome. So, guys, thanks so much for being here. I appreciate it. Let's enjoy March Madness. I will be back with the book. If he hasn't fallen asleep, we're going to be back with Benny the Book and Al Chester after this.
If you want to change the way you play, you must change the way you train. Start training, join the revolution.
Here we are. Welcome back to Swartz Talking Sports. I'm your host, Les Swartz. Well, L. Steven Swartz, but call me Les. That's fine. March Madness is upon us, and look who! Oh my God, what is he wearing? Okay, the guy to the right. Look at this. Benny the Book is in the house, and what is he got on, folks?
Rattler shirt.
We're in West Virginia. We're at Tucker's Treasure. They have all kinds of. I went to the store. They have all kinds of stuff they buy from like Target and main store, and then they check it out and so I was going in to get some puzzles, and I'm looking at the shirts, and I see this shirt. I says, Tucker's Treasures. They got a Rattler shirt. I got to get this shirt. I says, I got to wear it for Val.
Nice.
Benny, you
Nice.
look good in orange. You look
Yeah,
great in orange.
I love it. I love it. I love this. I love the insignia. I love it.
Are you
Beautiful.
going to wear it on the golf course, Benny?
Yeah, of
All
course.
right,
But
all
I
right.
had to wear it for Al tonight. You know.
All right.
My
all
man,
right.
I appreciate that.
Well, guys,
Absolutely.
so Benny, you've been patiently waiting, and you know, and
Yeah,
did I do
got-
a good job? Hold
got
on,
a-
Tony, did I do a good job with the time? Because I know we started, that ticker didn't start for like 4 minutes, just letting you know. So, anyways, by the way, everyone out there, hit that subscribe button. I forgot to start. I was so excited about March Madness. Hit the subscribe button. Comment. Let us know what's going on. You guys have been awfully quiet tonight. Doesn't anybody like March Madness? Let me know what your picks are. John, I know you're out there. Let me know who's going to take it home. I know Stu, you're a West Coast guy. Is UCLA going to take it home? No, you hate the Bruins. Listen, before we get Benny, I know you got your picks. You got some things you want to say about North Carolina.
Yeah,
Listen,
I got a lot of knowledge listening to you guys, and I know one thing for sure.
what?
I'll tell you at the end when you ask me for my pick.
All right. Well, first of all, I was able to catch up with CAA Commissioner Joe D'Antonio yesterday. Just flew into Kansas to watch the UNCW Seahawks play the third-seeded Texas Tech Red Raiders out there in Wichita. So we got a chance to interview him a little bit yesterday. We're going to run part one of the interview. So let's check this out and we'll be back after that. All right, we're fortunate to have CAA Commissioner and the pride of Abington, Massachusetts, Joe D'Antonio on for a couple minutes. Joe, thanks so much for taking time. I know you're out in Wichita for the UNCW Texas Tech game on Thursday, so thanks for taking time out.
Les, it's great to be with you. Thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
All righty. Well, let's get right into it. You know, you're a one-bid league, and UNCW took down a very heavily underdog Delaware team. Everyone was thinking it was going to be UNCW and Towson, who won the conference during the regular season. Your take on the conference and Delaware's surprising march to a championship game?
Well, you know, Delaware showed everyone around the country that when you get to March, really anything can happen. You know, they had and I know to their standards, had a bit of a lackluster regular season, certainly not where they wanted to be, but had a very talented team. And they showed that, obviously, in the tournament. And they showed what can happen when a team gets hot, and momentum is a real thing. And we saw that play out right before our eyes as they made the march all the way to the championship game. You know, give a lot of credit to UNCW. They had an exceptional season. They're extremely well coached, and they were able to do what they needed to do to win and get that bid, and we're dancing here in Wichita.
All right, so let's talk about that big game. You guys seeded 14, playing against the Big 12, which I think came in second in the Power Conference rankings behind only the SEC, which I think got 14 teams in a record. At this point, you're playing Texas Tech, well-coached team, very, very, a lot of athletic guys, big team led by Toppin, the transfer from New Mexico. What do you guys, and listen, what are you guys thinking? I mean, do we have a shot at this? It's going to be an upset. Let's put it this way. You're going to be on some of the upset brackets of 14 versus 3, but give me your take on the game.
Well, first of all, you always have a chance to win the game, and we appreciative of the fact that we're at the 14 seed line. We thought we could have been a 13 or a 14, depending on who made it from our conference and where the committee looked at us. But you know, it's nice to be able to stay out of the 15 and the 16. Your percentages certainly go higher as you get up into the 14 and 13 of being able to win these games. And you know, I feel really good about what UNCW brings to the table. First of all, they're extremely well coached. They have an incredible amount of respect for Coach Siddle and how he goes about his day-to-day business. He's a great guy to talk to, number one. He cares about his kids, number two, not only on the basketball court, but off the basketball court. He cares about them as people, not just players. And he's just a great coach. He's a great X's and O's coach, strategy coach. So, you know, certainly would stack him up against anyone in the country in terms of being somebody that can come into this game and win it. And then, you know, I just like UNCW style of play. You know, they shoot the three really well. I love the big guy in the middle, Harlan. I love him. He's a guy that when he gets going, especially on the glass, can be dominating. And I was at a few of their games this year, and the games that I saw, he's somebody that can take over. And not necessarily take over with points less, but he's just a presence. He's a presence down low. He can move people around, and he's not afraid to do the dirty work and rebound. And a lot of times when you get into some of these games, offensive rebound here, a defensive rebound there, those can make all the difference in the world.
Well, he has length. There's no doubt about it. And you're right. He's very good off the both offensive and defensive glass. He could present some problems for Texas Tech, who likes to pound it inside sometime to Toppin. And listen, he could alter a few shots. And the way I look at it, Joe, we talked, anybody can win this thing. If UNCW is within 6 or 7 points with 5 minutes to go in this game, I think it's a toss-up, because I think what happens is a lot of times, and Coach Martelli, who's on the show tonight, will say this as well, is that the teams that are favored kind of tighten up a little bit. Everyone's expecting them to win the game, and all of a sudden, it's a 1 or 2 position game with 3 minutes to go, and boy, things start to tighten up a little bit, and you lose that freewheeling style. And UNCW is really, no one's really expecting them to make a big run here, right? And at 14, 15, 16 seeds, they got nothing to lose, so let's just play it out, right?
We have nothing to lose. Let leave it all on the table and let's go after it. I'm with you 100%.
And if they somehow pull this off, I really like the next matchup, because you're playing a 6 versus 11 Missouri, who I thought was a mid-level SEC team, against the Missouri Valley Conference winners Drake. I know a good team. Their coach went to West Virginia, but I really think that UNCW matches up really well with those two teams. So if they can somehow shock the Red Raiders, I'm liking a Sweet 16. Would that be something for the conference, Joe?
Well, that would be instant fame, basically. I mean, when you get it, if you're a Cinderella and you're in that round of 16, it's amazing how things begin to snowball really, really fast from a media standpoint. So that would be certainly exciting for the CAA and really exciting for the folks at UNCW. We'd like nothing more than to see that happen.
I'll tell you one thing. You'd be going on a lot bigger shows than me. I'm sure McAfee would grab you. You'd be like, Joe, less who? I don't know. I don't have time for you anymore. We wish you the best of luck, you and UNCW, in your match against Texas Tech this week. I'm hoping you guys pull this upset, and I'm hoping you go on to the Sweet 16, and you have to make a promise. I'm holding you on the spot right now. If you guys make the Sweet 16, you got to come on before that game.
Oh, 100%.
All right.
100%.
Listen, Joe, enjoy Wichita. Be safe. Grab a nice steak dinner, and we will talk to you down the line. Thanks so much.
Les, I love the show. Appreciate you having me on. Happy to be with you anytime. You know that. Thank you.
Joe D'Antonio, CAA Commissioner. That was awesome. Special thanks to CAA Commissioner Joe D'Antonio for taking time. Just landed in Kansas. Hey, guys, maybe we're not a little tiny show after all. Maybe we do have some clout, huh?
A little bit about that game. UNC Wilmington, they average over 80 points, 82 points a game. So they could definitely put the ball in the basket. They're getting 16 and a half points. I mean, that's
a lot.
That's a lot. And Delaware, that guard they had, Pasha, the freshman guard. He was supposed to, I think I heard when I was watching the game that he was supposed to go to St. John's.
Oh. He didn't go to play for Patino, but he went to play for the Fighting Blue Hens.
I don't know what the deal was. Maybe he saw how good those guys were, and maybe wouldn't get a lot of playing time, and he decided, let me go to Delaware. Well, I don't know where he's from, but I would take UNCW.
All right, so Benny, so before the picks and everything, give me a couple upset picks. Who do you think has a shot at a realistic upset here?
Colorado State, your second team you picked.
Yeah.
I liked Colorado State and McNeese State, but after what Coach Martelli said about their coaches leaving and Clemson's coach, I definitely don't think that's going to be an upset. Colorado State, I think they've won like 11 or 12 games in a row. They're on one of the longest winning streaks in college basketball. And you said Memphis, 2 guards might not play.
Yeah, Tyrese Hunter and Dante Harris are questionable, and if they do play, they're not going to be fully healthy.
Colorado State, I think that's the best upset that I see in this 12-5. I don't see any of the Creighton. Creighton might beat Louisville.
Yeah, and that's an 8. Was that a 9-8? Oh.
9-8. Yeah.
Okay.
Creighton's got a very good center. Very good center.
So, guys, let's get into the seedings of this craziness. Okay. So, I know, Benny, you're adamant that North Carolina shouldn't have got in. Based on what Phil said.
Just that was it. Every person I've listened to said they were 1-12. I put 1-13, quad 1. That just should eliminate them.
Yeah.
West Virginia, they beat Arizona. They beat Kansas. They beat 6 or 7 of these teams that are in this thing. Same thing with Indiana. I'm sure Indiana beat 3 or 4 of them. You know, that 1-12 or 1-13 quad one, that should have eliminated them. You know.
But do you think that, you know, Phil brought it up because he actually gave me, he said good point on this, but that if North Carolina had lost by 20 plus points to Duke in that game, they probably wouldn't have got in.
Yeah.
If it was a blowout.
It's something that has just happened. So that's in your mind. They just saw it the night before, you know? So, I'm sure it had something to do with it.
Well, hey, listen, here's some potential second round matchups that could happen. Gonzaga, Houston. That would be one heck of a matchup in the Midwest. Oregon, Arizona, and I know Coach Phil likes Arizona coming out of that. Tommy Lloyd's done a great job with that program after, what's his name, Miller left, and there was some kind of scandal going on there. And Auburn, Louisville, I think that would be a heck of a matchup, and I wouldn't count Louisville out against Auburn. Louisville's played fantastic basketball this year.
And you know, it's another second good round matchup. Either way, you're going to get 2 Hall of Fame coaches. Kansas is playing Arkansas, and they're going to play. The winner's going to play St. John's. So you're going to have Patino against the Kansas coach, or
Self, or his buddy Calipari, right?
Yeah. So that's a good. Hey, Florida, UConn. There's the one game. UConn gets by Florida. Anything can happen. They get by Florida.
Benny,
I picked Florida to win it all.
Yeah.
But after listening to us 5 experts, 4 out of 5 like Florida, I'm crossing Florida right out. I'm ripping up my sheet right here. There it goes.
Oh, jeez. Well, you know something? I think Phil, you know, he said it. He liked Maryland a couple weeks ago. He said, watch out for Maryland. Kevin Willard's been a fantastic coach with the Terrapins. Kind of, I want to say resurrect the program, but, you know, they were kind of, had a couple of down years. That kid Queen is really, really good. Like, he is one of the best freshmen because, you know, everyone's talking about Flagg and Knipple and, you know, Fears at Oklahoma is really good. And there's a couple other really top freshmen. But this kid Queen is a tremendous basketball player. I hope he stays one more year at Maryland. So, okay, so Benny, give me your picks then.
If Coach Phil is right, it can make you a lot of money if you go with him. They're 60-1, Maryland.
And what's Arizona?
Arizona, I don't think I took Arizona down. I got St. John's 22-1, Iowa State 40-1.
I like Iowa State if Gilbert was playing.
Yeah, Auburn 5.5-1. I got my 4 games I took. I love the SEC. I watched a lot of those games. I'm a little nervous with Alabama since you told me the centers might not play, but they got some players that could put it in the hoop. They got 2 great guards.
Yeah,
Sears. 2 very good guards.
Yeah,
Sears and the other freshman guard, very good.
So wait a second, do you have 4 SEC teams in the Final Four?
I took Auburn to beat Iowa State to get to the Final Four.
Okay.
Florida to beat St. John's to get to the Final Four. Alabama to beat Duke to get to the Final Four, and Tennessee to beat Houston to get to the Final Four.
I got 2 of them. I got Tennessee and I got Florida in there. And so you have Florida cutting the nets down?
Yeah, I took Florida to cut the nets down.
All right.
I was very, very impressed with them. You know, I didn't watch them. I knew everybody talked during the year, even when Auburn was on that winning streak. Everybody was talking about Florida.
Yeah, and
they're very deep. They play both ends of the court. They kind of dominated Tennessee after Tennessee dominated Auburn in the SEC championship. I mean, they pulled away, and Tennessee kept fighting back, but they held them off.
I'm telling you, I still think I think Michigan State. I think Izzo's experience. I love the guard play.
Who's the freshman guard? His father played
Jace Richardson. It's Richardson's kid. Yeah, Jason Richardson's kid. Yeah, he's fantastic. The other kid, Jaden
really
Akins.
Good.
Yeah, and Akins is a senior, and they play off each other well. Like I said,
they're 25-1 Michigan State.
Yeah, listen. They lost a tough game in the Big Ten championship, in the Big Ten tournament, but I really like the way they play. They beat Michigan earlier.
Florida's the favorite, I think.
Yeah,
Florida is
Florida's
plus
the favorite.
three.
Well, they
three
should be
and
the
a half.
number one overall seed, to be honest with you. And and
Yeah,
listen,
yeah.
and if Todd Golden and Bernie, his father, Bruce Pearl, Bernie Pearl's his father, if Pearl and Golden make it, like I said, I think it'd be the first time in NCAA history you'd have two Jewish head coaches.
They the style of play, they could have got a little burnt out. They played so tough the whole year.
Well,
and they got one of the best players in college, Broom. So
yeah,
he's pretty dominant. You get the ball inside to him, there ain't nobody stopping him.
He's great, and they talk Broom and they talk Flag, but I'm going to say it right now, guys, and I'll echo this that I said with Phil and Steve. The best college basketball player the last month and a half of the season has been Walter Clayton Jr. from Florida. He's fantastic. He doesn't turn it over. He makes the tough shot. He hits the open shot, and he finds the open guy. And he can play defense and rebound. For it is, I think he's a 6'3", 6'4" guard. So if Mike Simmons is out there, Mike can tell me. Mike might be on the road or something. But anyway, so you like Florida to cut down the nets? Hey, Al, real quick, because this thing says we're 56 minutes in, but I know we're over 9 o'clock because we started a little bit late. My question: how was the Hall of Fame experience, my man? Can you just elaborate a little bit on last Thursday?
Man, I tell you what, it was a classic week with lifetime full of memories, and I just happened to be one of the guys sharing the stage with some elite athletes. You're talking about Justin Gatlin. I watched him run. I mean, this guy is a force in itself. He still looks like he can run. Garrett Scanlon, he's been a guest on our show. Garrett actually is training now. He's a decathlon guy. He's going to be trying to go to that next Olympics. Terry. I mean, she was the girl that did this in the last Olympics out in Paris. A super young lady. I tell you what, fantastic. And then Pauline Davis-Thompson. She's been to 6 Olympics, and she started running when she was 17. But I tell you what, Greg Coleman, his wife, excuse me, and the staff put on a show, man. It was an elite event, and I'm just glad that I was a part of it.
Well, we here at Sports,
deserved.
Everyone here at Sports Talk and Sports, our entire team, all our viewers out there, our subscribers, are very, very proud of you, my friend.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Outstanding. Well, listen, I guess really that's about it, right? I mean, West Virginia, Benny, lost their coach today.
Yeah, something's up there, boy. How could you come to a team one year, you bring your son there, he's the star of the team, then he sat out most of the second half of the year. That's when they started to lose. He was like their leading scorer.
Yeah.
And
you don't think
everybody's chasing the bag? They're chasing the bag, Benny.
Indiana.
There's no doubt that to my knowledge, that he knew what was going on in Indiana, and this isn't a knee-jerk reaction that he just left and they just offered him the job. He's been talking Indiana, and if DeVries, his kid Tucker DeVries, had played one more game, he would have burned his red shirt and he wouldn't be able to come back and play again. So it's very interesting how he got hurt right there, didn't play any more games. It's almost like the coach knew. And hey, what do you make about, hold on, Al, what do you make about the governor of the state of West Virginia wanting to sue the NCAA tournament committee for not allowing the West Virginia Mountaineers to make the tournament? Did you think, and Stevie, I got to say, I should have mentioned this, Stevie said, doesn't he have anything better to do? Are things that good in West Virginia that you're worried about this?
Yeah, well, and that's their one, Al. They don't have a professional sport. That's their team. The Mountaineers are their team. I mean, those people live like you, New England, and I'm a Giant. That they have no one except University of West Virginia. That's it.
Maybe they can get Bob Huggins back.
They have Marshall, but
we are
about
Marshall.
There you go. All right, guys. Well, listen, let's enjoy it. It's going to be awesome. Don't text me. Evidently, Joni said don't text me during dinner tomorrow night. So it's just going to be her and I. But I'll be checking all the scores when I get back and watching Hockey East. I am going to watch the Hockey East doubleheader. BU against UConn. Hey, Benny, UConn in the Hockey East semifinals tomorrow night. How's that one?
Nice.
And you got Maine against Northeastern for the right to win Hockey East, and we'll be all over that too. So listen, I don't know what we're going to do yet next week. I have no clue if there's going to be a show, if there's not going to be a show. We'll find out in the next 24 hours. If they are, you guys are back. And like I said, enjoy the tournament. It's the greatest thing in sports, man. March Madness, there's nothing like it. So,
Hey, Les, how about
Les.
this? From my house to yours, man. Happy birthday, man.
Yes.
Have
man,
a great
thank
time.
you, man. I appreciate
Yes,
that.
buddy.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
I'll see you. I'll see you tomorrow.
You will.
I'll see you tomorrow.
You got to
but-
see the wine rack I built.
Yeah, I know. Wow, I'm impressed. You're starting to build wine racks, Joni. You're doing a good job with them. he won. Remember the first year at your golf tournament? He won the tool set. I said, "What the hell are you going to do with a tool set? You call Doug over to change a bulb in the lamp." He had his
that is
tool.
true.
You were so proud that you had that tool set.
I am. I know. It makes me look like I know what I'm doing, right?
Oh.
Listen, Al, I'm the only guy I know that, if I have to screw something in the wall, I will fly my brother down first class, have him do it, and he'll fly back the next day.
Yeah.
If I'm Boston, I know I got problems. Well, listen, guys, have a fantastic week, Benny. I'll see you on the course.
I'll see you tomorrow.
I want to thank everyone out there. I know we didn't have a lot of questions tonight. We didn't have a lot of comments tonight. I was kind of bummed out about that because, March Madness is what it is.
It's spring break.
There's the amazing Joni. Say, wait to everybody,
Yay,
Joni. Wait.
Joni.
Hey, and but listen, if this is the first time checking out the show, please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, comment,
Hey,
let us know what you
Tony.
think.
There's Big Tone. There's Big
And
Tony.
there's the wizard, the man behind the magic who makes it all happen. He's got to do more to make me look good. I don't know, man. It's taken a long time. But anyways, listen, I appreciate the birthday wishes. I want to say everyone have a great weekend out there. It's coming up. Al, we'll talk to you. Benny, I'll see you on the course. For
See ya.
Joni, my amazing chat girl. For Tony the Tiger, the wizard behind the magic. This is Les Swartz saying, take care, everybody. We'll see you maybe next week.